going on, everybody? Today we're going to take a closer look at the history behind the gifting event going all the way back to 2016 and see how that compares to today. What we're also going to do is try to figure out the trend that the game is following. Imagine that this is where we get our rewards. Imagine that there's a line all the way on the left side here, and this is a game that you got rewards exclusively from gameplay, a game without microtransactions, right? As we approach that line, then there's a line on the right side of the screen here, and what this would represent is an app, not even a game, an app that you don't play. It's just like a digital collection of goods. So imagine you had like digital Funko Pops, but this app organized it so that you can click on your Funko Pops and read the bios of champions and things like that, right? And then what I want you to do is also imagine a line right down the middle, and this represents the game back in 2016, because that's the first gifting event that we're going to be looking at today. And I want you to try to guess if you think that the rewards are trending more in the form of gameplay, if you think the rewards are trending more in the form of spending, or if you think that the game it's operating exactly how it's always been, and it's continuing to find that line in the middle that was there back in 2016. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first gifting event that I'll be showing today, at least. I don't think this is the first gifting event ever, but this is the first gifting event that I was part of, at least. So that's what we're going to be looking at. That's where we're starting out. And this is a video from Seaton back in 2016. So if you wanted to see the proof for yourself, it's right there on YouTube. And these are the rewards. So Kang, this was the big prize, 4-star Kang. This is the #1 alliance, by the way, that gets these rewards. 3,000 4-star shards, and then this marvelous hero crystal, which is just a crystal that contains 5 stars of every single champion that was released that year of 2016. That was the big prize. And it's important to note that there were no solo ranked rewards. It was just greater gifting crystals. There were, milestones and this big prize right here. So quite different compared to what we have today, but it's a little bit hard to understand where the game was at that time. So let's actually move on, and we're going to jump to 2017 now. And I'm just showing here that this is grayed out because, yeah, there are no actual ranked rewards. For the solo side of things, so we're just looking at ranked rewards for the Alliance side. And we can see here we have another trophy champion in Kang. We've got a tier 2 alpha, and we've got 15,000 5-star shards. Now, to put that in a little bit of context, gameplay wise, this is the release of Act 5, Chapter 4. And remember, what we're showing here, what we're looking at is the 2017 gifting event, right? Late December 2017. What we have here is a post that was made in actually November 2017 is when it was announced, but we can see here that the content released December 13th. Now, this event, this conclusion of Act 5, this brought with it 2 tier 5 basic catalysts. Now you notice there's not even a single tier 5 basic in these rewards, but we got 2 tier 5 basic catalysts, from the event itself. And I mean, even just looking at the, like the Legends rewards, look at this, man, tier 2 alpha catalysts. Now I would say this is an example of the gifting event not being good enough. Looking at these rewards, it's funny. Like we're really trending towards I would say the gameplay side of things already. That's where we're starting out. But we'll see if that trend continues. Let's get back to the gifting event here. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. So what I want to show in this video, we're moving on to 2018 at this point. As you can see, that's when I posted this video, 2018. And I've got 5 565 champions, 5 stars at rank 5, each of them taking 2 tier 5 basics, or the variant was out at this point, I believe, so because I think I used a rank up gem on Omega Red or something. But regardless, in terms of value, 2 tier 5 basics each, right? So what did the gifting event bring that year? Well, you could see I'm showing a forum post in this case, because if you go back to videos, it was showing the wrong set of rewards in game initially, but these are the correct rewards. And you can see for the number one alliance, the top gifting alliance here, we've got 15,000 5-star shards, 10,000 6-star shards, of which I'm not showing in this screenshot, but I believe in the video I already had like 6 or 7 6-stars or something like that. Either way, I've got some 6 stars. Then we have 2 tier 5 basic catalysts. Look at that, man. And this video was posted December 6th, so before the gifting event. So yeah, it's still really nice set of rewards. And I didn't look back at the Alliance War rewards at this time, but if I remember correctly, it was basically the equivalent of like a season of Alliance Wars, which at the time was a really big deal. And then, of course, we have 5-star Thanos. We've got the tier 2 alphas. The big prize here, I would say, once again, really was the 5-star Thanos. So up until this point, I would say the trophy champion, that's been the biggest thing, at least in my opinion. Of course, you know, interpret that how you will, but it really felt like it was the trophy champ that was the biggest thing. Then, this is 2018. This is where things take a turn. So this is where the game really shifts, I would say, as we start to look at the 2019 rewards. So this is the 2019 Alliance ranked rewards, and as I'm going to show in a minute, this is the first year where there were solo ranked rewards as well. Which, quick story, by the way, before we talk more about these rewards, but it was actually really hard to find this screenshot where anyone was clicking on this crystal right here, which it's still a big deal. 50% of a tier 5 class Catalyst Fragment Crystal in a time where very few people even had a full tier 5 class Catalyst to get a champ to rank 3. That's the time period that we're in right now. But most people didn't necessarily care about this crystal. This is actually a different video than the first video here. If you look at the titles, where this you'd think it'd be in this video here, where the 2019 gifting event top rewards are insane, but people really were only talking about the class catalyst selector, not the actual class catalyst fragment crystal, even though they were both 50%. And that's because at the time there were ways to get you know, these class catalyst crystals. Just we were getting them in random quantities of all the different class types, and it was hard to, you know, I mean, it was just totally up to luck in order to, you know, form a full catalyst. So anyone that could get a selector here, they would guarantee get another rank up, and that would give them 2 compared to, you know, the other top players having 1, and then that would be a massive advantage. If you actually watch the videos, there's a lot of talk about Sunspot and his high prestige at rank 3, and that was just gonna, you know, dominate the prestige wars going on and things like that at the time. Now 2019 was also a different year for a couple of other reasons. Number one, I believe that 2019 was the introduction of the Cavalier Crystal. I could be wrong on this because I couldn't find the original announcement page for it. Probably just missed it, but I did see openings at least as early as March 2019, so maybe they came out before then, I don't know. But yeah, it came out around that time at least. And then also, looking back at the other catalysts, the tier 5 basic that was given out here, and the tier 5 basics that were required to take 5-star champs up to rank 5. Dude, I look like I'm about to sneeze right here. But anyway, these catalysts, every player got enough catalysts to rank up a champ at the same time from content. This is the last time we've seen something like that. Players were sold tier 5 basics leading up to it, but they weren't sold high enough quantities to, you know, actually get the rank up until they beat the content, until they actually did the gameplay. This is a big deal here. So the class catalysts, it represented a big change in this way, where suddenly players were not only getting their first rank 3 at a different pace compared to players just, again, playing the game, going through and actually playing the game. It was definitely a push towards spending. The Cav crystals, the introduction of the newest catalyst being the tier 5 class catalyst. It was definitely a different time in the contest. Now, one of the things that kept this somewhat in control, even though I didn't like this trend back then, especially the Cav crystals, but I mean, I've also talked countless times about the class catalyst. But one of the things that kept things slightly in control was here. I'm going to show a series of forum posts that will give a better understanding of where we're currently at in the lifespan of MCOC. So, we've got Act 6.3. That was, came out November 2019, right? So we've got a few chapters of Act 6 Legends runs where, there's for the top prizes, you're getting some tier 5 class catalysts. So at least there's a way to compete. At least there is an option of gameplay to get some of the, these things. Then we also had Alliance Wars. This was an update in July of 2019, where you can see, these are only 2% crystals, but it's 2% tier 5 class catalyst crystals, in addition to these war season crystals. If you guys recall these, I don't think we get them anymore, but they had a rare chance at a low amount of fragments for tier 5 class catalysts. So, the better you did in war, it felt like it had a much higher impact compared to today's sets of rewards, which I'm going to show later. They are abysmal in comparison. Not to mention, there was another update in 2019. You can see this post was December 2019, and you can see the top rewards here. These crystals, this is the mark of like war rewards really getting buffed again, really being front and center in the contest of something that was valuable here. You could see the rank 1, it was a 25% tier 5 class catalyst crystal, which is not quite as high as the the 50% in this screenshot here, but this was the gifting event that happens one time a year compared to the season rewards, which happen multiple times a year, right? So if you're good at Alliance War, if you coordinate with your alliance with 29 other people, it's not something easy to do, but at least you have this option. You have this option to play the game and get rewarded for actually playing the game. So even though I felt like the trend was going in the direction of spending, it really wasn't pushing in that direction to an extreme, kind of. I don't know. The Cav crystals, man, the Cav crystals, that's, I don't even really want to get into that in this video so much, but really the Cav crystals, they definitely did push it in that direction. But for the sake of just continuing on, because of, like I said, being able to at least have the option to play the game and get comparable rewards, it was different. And 2019 is, I would say, was the most extreme year up until the present, where if we look then, or by the way, actually, before we get to 2020, you could see the impact that it had. You could see the amount that people were spending. You had players just dumping truckloads of cash into the game. So, like, why would Kabam ever go back? Like, the worst thing that you can see as like a business or just a person trying to make money, it's like the trending lines, where, like, dude, millions of dollars is still a lot of money, but the moment you see that trending line going down a little bit, we got a problem here. It's a sinking ship. Oh, let's freak out. So, of course, they can't go back after you're making this much money. You got to keep pushing the limits, right? So, yeah, they made a ton of money off that gifting event. But I would say the 2019 crystal, another thing that kind of kept it in check here, is that it did not have tier 5 class catalysts. We didn't see that until 2020. Which we are going to take a look at those rewards right now. Oh, you know what? There was one other thing that I wanted to show, in addition to the war season rewards. Also, this post on December 23rd, so this was mid-gifting event that this was announced, but in January, that was going to be the introduction of the Abyss. And although I don't think we knew the rewards for the Abyss quite yet, I don't know if those were announced right away or not, but either way, we can kind of assume, like, okay, so if you're not going to be in the gifting event, at least you could play the Abyss and you can make up for it there. So again, going back to this, we still have I would say, a reasonable way through gameplay to get at least the catalysts. Other resources like sig stones, debatable. But anyway, at least on the catalyst side of things, we had those options. But let's go ahead and look at the 2020 gifting now. We can see the Alliance ranked rewards was a 25% tier 5 class catalyst selector. So actually went down from the 2019 selector. But that's because of the massive amounts of controversy and drama and honestly just blatant cheating going on in 2019, where Kabam tried to crack down and tighten the systems, where it was no longer an alliance-focused event. It was more of a solo-focused event, where these solo ranked rewards, that was the big push in 2020, where you got a 6-star rank up gem 2 to 3, along with a full tier 5 class catalyst selector. But just to put some context to this, at this stage, I already had a couple of rank 3s myself as a free-to-play player, along with some, catalyst stashed away. I was just waiting to pull the right champions. It's really the hardest part for me is like pulling the right champions and having them actually be impactful without their awaken ability, because if they're not awakened, 5-star is arguably stronger in a lot of cases. And this event, it was tame, honestly, in comparison to 2019. There was still some big spenders and stuff like that. A lot of people going for the 6-star awakening gem. Remember, the Abyss is not quite out yet, so a 6-star awakening gem was a huge deal at the time. So a lot of players were pushing for that. No, I'm sorry. The Abyss was out. The Abyss came out 2019. This is 2020 we're looking at. So, we did have that, but like there were still not many sources of the awakening gems, and this is before the Cav crystals got their buff and stuff too. So it was really hard to get a champion awakening. You had to spend a lot of money. So a lot of players said, okay, well, I'm going to spend that money in the gifting event. And just going back to the the greater gifting crystals here, I only have 2018, 2019, and 2020. We're not going to read through 2018, but it's here if you wanted to read it. But 2020, this was when we saw the tier 5 class catalyst fragments, and a lot of people would say this was not a big deal, and I totally agree, actually, that this was not a big deal to see these tier 5 fragments in the 2020 crystal after we already had 2 full years or whatever it was where players were getting these things through gameplay or special offers or whatever else. Now you have just a repeatable way. If you just want to open up tons of crystals to get them, fine. But that's very different than what we've seen in 2021 as we finally make our way to present day MCOC and take a closer look at the 2021 rewards, which I already looked at in past videos, but let's really make a comparison here. So again, the craziest year that we've ever seen was 2019, where rank 3s were very new, and at most, if you were the number 1 solo and number 1 in number 1 alliance, you would get 1 full rank up worth of catalysts. That was what you got. Whereas here, similar situation, brand new to getting rank 4 6-star champs. They've been out slightly longer, I guess. I don't even know if that's true. I think they have, but only because of the random nature of the tier 5s at the time. And what we have from the solo events is a full rank up, and then half of a rank up from the alliance side of things, and then a potential for other rank ups from these greater gifting crystals, because these now, for the first time ever, do contain the bleeding edge catalyst, the tier 3 alpha catalyst, and tier 6 basic catalyst fragments. Now, it takes an absolute ton of money to generate enough fragments out of these crystals to get yourself an additional rank up, and I've been trying my best to look at the largest sample sizes that I can. And I've looked at collectively over 1,000 crystals at this point, and I would put an approximation at about $20,000 per full rank up, which again, it's not something that we've had before. A lot of players seem to think that we've had this before, just because in a previous event you would get that one full rank up from the from the ranked rewards itself. But if you notice here, some of these players at the highest ranks, they are spending $20,000 or more. Players already have, before the ranked rewards have come out, they've already generated enough fragments to get, additional rank ups. So in addition to the ranked rewards being higher than they've ever been, giving more than just one additional rank up, giving, 1.5. And then also, if you look at the amount of money spent here, this would be enough to get at least one more additional rank up on top of that. It's definitely different. Now, you could still be of the mindset that it's not going to matter to you. It's still going to allow you to play the game as you normally would. It's just some players are going to have these additional rank ups, and that's fine for you, right? And that's a totally valid opinion to have. If Kabam does need to make money, totally agree with that and everything. Question though, was this money not enough that they did need to include wrong screenshot, we're jumping ahead, that they did need to increase the greater gifting crystals too? How expensive are these lights? I'm pretty curious. Hard to say, I know, right? Nobody really knows, but fair enough. Kabam, they need to make money, and not only do they need to make money, but they deserve to make money, right? Because this is a game that everyone playing loves, at least to some extent. It's a game that we love to hate at the same time, but it's a great game overall. And although you may not personally be affected by, some of these players spending so much and getting these additional rank ups, well, some players are. For example, you might not have been pushing for these highest ranks in Alliance War, but as you can imagine, the most dedicated players to the game, that's what they're doing. And so this actually, just to be clear here, this was announced in December of 2019, but these rewards didn't actually go into effect until January. So, and maybe there's still some time for Kabam to fix that. But even going by these previous rewards here, you could see that the summertime rewards of the same year, where you're only getting one rank up if you were the number one in the gifting event, you'd get minimum 10% of a tier 5 class catalyst, along with a chance for more. Whereas if we look in game at the rewards here, you could see it's less than that today. And that's really what I'm trying to focus on. It's just the trend. Where is the game trending? Which side are we going towards? Where looking at the rank 1 rewards, again, most people not affected by it, but hey, some people were shooting for it. You get 25% of one single catalyst, but you need 3. So, really that's 1/12 of a rank up in terms of tier 3. And then the tier 6 basic, it's actually only 20% of a rank up. And again, you need 3. So 1/15 of a rank up, which is considerably less than the past, where you got guaranteed 10%, maybe a little bit more. So it was less. And somehow, even though the rewards today through playing the game are less, the rewards from spending, they're even greater. So it's another just trend in that direction. But okay, so there was not many people participating, going for the highest ranks in war. I was not one of those players, so why do I care, right? Well, let's go to the second point here, the legend system, right? So again, in Act 6, we had... this was, 2019 content leading up to the year of 2019, when we saw the tier 5 class catalyst there. There was at least a way to play the game, to go above and beyond, to try to clear the content and compete and get some of these tier 5 class catalysts. Whereas we compare that to Act 7, and we don't see that. This is content released this year, and we do not see, even for mythic players, we do not see tier 3 alpha or tier 6 basic. Not to mention they just cut out the entire Legends program entirely, and I get why they cut it out, but it's just another trend. It's just another trend away from being able to get things, through actually playing the game, right? And listen, I totally acknowledge that there were some events that had these catalysts in them, right? And looking at these Karina's challenges, which are all complete, I just haven't claimed all the rewards yet. There's only one thing that I already claimed. There was another batch of these tier 6 basic, I think it was about the same amount. So, I mean, there were some fragments here. And then, looking at the story again, looking at something like 7.3, I mean, we see some fragments, but I'm curious, how did 6.3 compare? Again, just kind of measuring things up to, a couple years ago, just trying to figure out the way the game's going, the way things are trending. Well, we look at 6.3 here, and it was a 25% class catalyst. Okay, 6.2, that was also a 25%. Chapter 1. Yeah. Also a 25%er. Okay. Well, I mean, do we need to do the math even on the Act 7 rewards? Let's look at 7.1. Okay. Is there... I can't tell. No, that's just a tier 5 class catalyst. Okay. All right. Well, what about 7.2? We got it. Oh, here we go. Is that 25% of a rank up? No, it's not even 25% of a catalyst, let alone... the 3 catalysts that we need. What about 7.3? Are we finally seeing 25% here? Well, we're seeing 25% of one of these catalysts and less than 25% for another. But again, you need 3. Every step of the way, everything that I look at, everything that I compare, I ask you again, just to consider where we were at the start of this video, making these comparisons the entire way through. And do you think that the game is trending in the way of gameplay? Do you think that the game is staying the way that it's always been, an argument that I keep hearing? Or do you think that we're trending in the way of spending more money? Every step of the way, there's just fewer rewards from playing the game and a larger push towards spending. There is this great event, by the way, that a couple of great events more that I have not called out, which I definitely want to call out because these were fantastic, man. So let's take a look at it here. This is the Summer of Pain. Now, Summer of Pain supposed to come out in 2020, but fair enough. It was a great event when it came out, even though it was a year later than expected. But it was a killer event. One of the absolute best we've ever seen in the game. Loved it. And even the Summer of Pain, these were the fragments. You can see that the top row here is the fragments from like the initial completion of it all, and then they came out with this other set of catalysts. I draw the arrow the wrong way. They came out with this other set of catalysts here for like the finale of it, where I had to fight the Grandmaster and stuff like that. And I mean, like, the reason why I want to call this stuff out is because like they could have easily added more fragments to this. It was tough content to get through, and if they wanted to provide so many rank up resources in the gifting event, that's fine, as long as the balance is there. As long as we have that balance, it's that balance that really matters. Everything is relative, right? But yeah, we got what we got, and at the time it seemed fine until we saw the imbalance of the gifting event. Then we had the Grandmaster's Gauntlet too, which was another fantastic event. Look at the number of fragments that we got here, both the alpha and the basics. Interestingly, though, you'll notice that in every single one of these screenshots, there's more basic catalysts than alpha, where we're going to be intentionally shorted on alpha for rank ups. Interesting. I don't know why it's like that. I mean, in the past, we just completed Act 5 and we got the rank up. There was no kind of trickery to it. It doesn't feel right, But at least there were a couple of measures to kind of counterbalance that, sort of, at least. This is the, Cyber Monday package that I picked up, where I picked up half of a tier 3 alpha here. I ended up passing on these offers just because I needed the sig stones more. So I couldn't get the catalyst here. But this is also another half of each of those catalysts. And if you picked up, you could have gotten both bundles actually for Cyber Monday. But even though this is not spending money, it's still not really gameplay, or at the very least, it's a different type of gameplay, because yeah, I guess you could still consider grinding arena and then just taking those arena grinding units and picking this up in the store. That's still a game, right? But it's a different game than it was when we completed Act 5 to get those tier 5 basics. Felt a little bit more epic at the time, right? Actually going through and fighting your way through to get those rewards. And listen, I know this is a long video. I've got 2 more points to make. This is one of them, and then one more after this. But this is, if you're going to tune the rest of the video out, like this is the most important point that I'm trying to make throughout this entire video, where the game's just less interesting with this type of push. And I like games. I grew up on games, love the old school, RPGs where you'd have to fight your way through some evil forest. That way you can make it to the next town. And when you get to the next town, it's so awesome seeing that little hut with an axe symbol on top of it, because you can walk in there and buy a weapon upgrade or something like that. And that's awesome. But it's typically not like the best weapon in the entire game. It's just like a stepping stone, versus something like this where the best of the best things in the game, it is that shop. And yeah, it's, instead of playing the game, it is this shop. And if you look at the number of tier 3 alpha fragments that came from this Cyber Weekend bundle to pick up, compared to the tier 3 alpha fragments that came from both the initial clear of getting all the points in the Summer of Pain, and then doing the finale, fighting the Grandmaster and stuff like that, you're still getting fewer number of tier 3 alpha fragments from this event. It's like, even when it's not spending in terms of money, even the gameplay side of things, it's just being pushed across the line to spending units. It's all just becoming super transactional, where it used to be more of, okay, how well can you fight? Can you compete against these other alliances in Alliance War? Can you compete against these other players in Legends runs? Even if you don't want to do those 2 things, can you complete this latest quest? And that's how you're going to get your next big rank up. And like I said, there's still some of that, but it's just every single thing that I look at, it just trends in this direction. And we're never going to, MCOC, it's never going to be a game where it does hit that point of just being an app for your virtual Funko Pops or whatever, right? It's never going to hit that extreme, but just every single thing that trends in that direction just makes the game a lot less interesting. So it's not only about being able to keep up with other players. That is part of it. But part of it is just, I mean, we downloaded a game, right? And a lot of people will say that, mobile games, they're just, casinos disguised as games, or, stores or shops disguised as games and stuff like that. So, hey, maybe I played myself by getting into a mobile game. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that, once upon a time, I felt like we were here. And I know some people will still try to argue that, no, we've been here all along, and this is the direction that we're still heading. I just don't see it that way. It just feels like Cav crystals, this direction. Gifting event, this direction. The unit-based offers, replacing some of the content that we used to do, this direction. No more Legends runs. You can get your trophy champ through spending. it just feels like one thing after another after another. And that's one of the reasons why I was looking so forward to the solo competitive mode, and still am, because I do feel like it's going to bring back that gameplay finally. Because, I mean, think about the new modes that have been introduced to MCOC over time. I mean, the last one we got was the Incursions, which it's a fine game mode for what it is, but it's not really like a core game mode to MCOC. It doesn't really fit in that well with the rest of the game. Whereas the solo competitive mode, I feel like is going to get there. And the last new mode that we had before that was what? I think Alliance War. Was there another one? I mean, bases got scrapped, right? So, you know, I'm hoping that it brings back the gameplay side of things, but, you know, of course, I would not be surprised if we saw that it started out more gameplay focused, and then over time, or even right away, just went right over to the spending side of things as well. Like, of course, the game mode should generate more revenue for Kabam, but I'm hoping that it does so in such a way that, you know, it just encourages players to chase these latest and greatest champs so that they can be more competitive in that mode, rather than doing something like, I don't know, charging an entry fee or something ridiculous, specific consumables just for that mode. I'm hoping that they don't do things like that, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Maybe that's just another thing that's going to trend over to the spending side. I don't know. The kind of last thing that I want to just touch on briefly is the idea of these rewards being devalued, and once we see these, you know, these better rewards come out through something like the gifting event, which, by the way, just once again, looking at history, it was never really the gifting event that led the way. The gifting event was always behind. You know, looking back at the past years, right? It wasn't until 2019 where it started to kind of, you know, the gifting event kind of did take over the actual content we had, and then 2021 where, you know, now it really is just ahead of things. In the past, it's always been behind. But anyway, the one last thing that I want to talk about here is like I said, the idea of these resources losing value over time, and they do, and I totally agree with that and all, to some extent, of course. I think things are changing. And in some ways they already have changed, but, you know, the way that these catalysts lose their value is you can only bring a certain number of champions to Alliance War. You could bring in 3 to attack, 5 on defense, right? So your 9th rank up is, of course, less valuable than the ones that came before it. Every rank up beyond the first one is slightly less valuable because, hey, some of those champs that you're bringing to attack, they might be synergy based or something, right? So it's, yes, to some extent, these catalysts and everything like that, they do lose their value. They'll start to be added more in other quests, so that, you know, instead of just getting half of a catalyst in completing 7.3 or less than half or whatever it is, you actually get full rank ups for completing Act 7 stuff, right? It allows you to catch up a little bit, right? But if you're always playing catch up and falling further and further behind, there comes a certain point where you kind of just lose interest. And I think back to a talk given by the developers of NBA Jam. It's on the GDC channel if you want to watch it for yourself. I think saw it there at least. And basically, they were talking about how they tested the game. This is old school testing before the days of the internet, or at least the internet as we know it today. We're talking about arcade cabinet testing, where they had to build up an arcade cabinet for NBA Jam, put it in an arcade, and then the developers of the game would actually just watch players playing their game. And what they noticed is that when players were losing by a lot, they felt discouraged and they would walk away. And when they were winning by a lot, they would get bored and they would walk away. So if it wasn't a close match, either way, whether they were doing really well or really poorly, they would just lose interest for one reason or another and walk away. So the developers had to kind of rig the system, and they had to make sure that if you were winning by too much, or just any time you're winning, they would have to, lower your shooting percentage and increase the opponents. And, of course, if you were losing by a lot, it'd be the opposite. If you're losing by a lot, suddenly you can't miss a shot and your opponents can't make a shot. And I mean, we see this in racing games as well. We see it in Mario Kart, where the worse off you are, the worse position you're in, the better weapons they're going to give you out of the boxes, right? It's what makes games interesting, and it's not an exact science. Every single person is different, and the level of distance you are away from other players that you're trying to play against, whether it be too far ahead or too far behind, the game is not going to be interesting and players are going to leave. And some of these players that were always kind of neck and neck, even just falling behind, a little bit for a few months or whatever, that could be enough for them to just, that's it. They didn't have, there's no longer, again, those as good rewards in Alliance War or the Legends runs or anything like that. That stuff is just, the carpet was pulled on them, Not to mention, there's other things that are that I was trying to talk about, like Cav crystals, where you could say, okay, the difference between a rank 3 champion, a rank 3 6-star, and a rank 4 6-star, they're not that big of a difference, so you can, use your skill to kind of close that gap. Well, thanks to the Cav crystals and the lack of available Sig stones, it's not just one rank's difference. In most cases, it's not one rank's difference. In some cases, it will be, right? If someone has a rank 4 Doom, even if my Doom wasn't sigged up, it wouldn't really make that big. It's just a minor stat increase, minor stat difference. Not that big of a deal at the end of the day. Could probably close that gap. But, when the solo competitive mode comes out, we're no longer dealing with 3 champs on offense and 5 champs on defense. We're not talking about 8 total champs. We're talking about 30. And I'm not going to have 30 champions at rank 3, at least not for the solo mode. They're just not going to be good enough. I can't rank up this Void and use him in the solo mode. I mean, I can. I wouldn't be able to use him offensively. I could put him on, I could set him up defensively, but I mean, that's a massive disadvantage. That's not just a little stat disadvantage. That's a massive disadvantage. And more realistically, I'm going to be using my 565 Sig 200 Void over an unawakened or even low Sig. Even if I got him awakened, even if I got him Sig 20 as a rank 3, my 565 Sig 200 is going to be better. And that's the champion that I'm going to be bringing. So now we're talking about the difference between a 565 5-star and a rank 4 6-star champion, which, if you do the math, the stat increase, it's about a 47% difference. It's no longer just this minor difference. 47%. And when your attack goes up by 47%, well, so does the degen damage. I'm not just talking about Void, I'm talking about other champs like Maw or Mojo or whatever. And when your health goes up, so does the champion's healing. It's not just as simple as a little attack and health increase. It's much more drastic than that in some ways. And that's a gap that has not closed in since the introduction of the Cav crystals, which we're going on almost 3 years now. If we're talking early 2019 of when they were released, it's almost early 2022. So if anyone could really tell me that the game, certain rewards, like all of the rewards, are going to lose their value and I'll be able to catch up, I'll just be a few months behind, I would ask you to take a closer look. When it comes to the Catalyst, I agree. When it comes to the Catalyst, once 7.4 hits and maybe some other content, maybe the follow-up to the Abyss, I'll start to, make up some ground there. It'll never be fully closing the gap, and that's okay. But when it comes to other resources, it's just not happening. This is not something new. It's not something that just happened with this gifting event. The gifting event's the cherry on top. And you might think, well, how big of a difference is it to have these champs at high Sig levels? And this is something that I've learned, from my time helping to develop iBomb and just through talking to developers over years, that it varies from champion to champion, but an Awaken ability could be budgeted for about 30% on average, maybe, of the champion's total power levels. Of course, for some like Aegon, it's everything, right? You can't play the champ unawakened. Same thing for like Star Lord, even more so in Star Lord's case, right? But on average, the power budget might be about 30% in the Awaken ability. And we could see that with I-Bomb. You see that 30% number there. We could see that in a champion like Diablo. Once again, you could see that that 30% damage reduction number. Even the attack increase, it's not quite 30%, 430 on top of the 1721 base, but it's not that far off from 30%, you know. Even other champs that aren't necessarily showing 30% in the ability directly, like Shang-Chi here having that 20% burst of physical damage, you can say, okay, it's 20%, but yeah, part of that is also that you perform crits through the opponent's block and stuff. And although, hey, you can play Shang-Chi unawakened, and I'm probably going to be playing him unawakened, you know, it once again, it's not just the difference between a rank 3 and a rank 4. It's the difference between, like, okay, rank 3 unawakened or low sig level versus rank 4 awakened or high sig level. It's more than just a small difference. And thinking back to NBA Jam or Mario Kart, if you're too far behind, do you still want to be in that race? And there's a point, like I said, for everyone. It's not an exact science. There's a point where you eventually just say you can't be part of the race anymore. So, I don't know. I guess that's where I'll end things here, because I've been talking for a very long time now. And yeah, I'll just say thank you all for sticking with me. Whether you agree or disagree, you can put that in the comments. That's the great thing about this subject, is that not everyone has to agree. As long as we all hear each other out, I'll be listening to other players' perspectives as well. And you know, I just hope that if you do join the conversation, you join it constructively, because I've got nothing but love for my other players, the other players out there that are going for the top ranks in the gifting and all that. Keep going. Good on you and all that. Good luck. It's just, this is my perspective that I'm sharing with you guys. So, all right, that'll do it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.